The entire PGA Tour landscape is quietly shifting right in front of us. And if you've been following this season closely, you can feel it. Because while everybody's talking about one massive tournament coming up, there are actually two huge stories happening at the exact same time, and both say a lot about where the tour stands right now. On one side, some of the biggest names in golf are suddenly missing from one of the richest events of the season, and honestly, some of those absences are bigger than people realize. On the other side, one superstar may have just been handed a golden opportunity to make history again at a course that already feels almost built for him. And the crazy part is, these two stories are far more connected than fans think. This isn't just about one tournament anymore. This is about scheduling strategy, pressure before majors, the changing power structure on the PGA Tour, and honestly, who's really positioning themselves to dominate the rest of this season. There's a lot happening beneath the surface this week, and if you're a real golf fan, you can already feel the tension building heading into the PGA Championship. So before we get into all of it, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and help us grow Golf Al Maximo. This channel is brand new, and if you love real PGA Tour conversations from actual golf fans, you're going to love what we're building here. The field and the names missing from it. Let's start with the first big story. When you actually look at the field for the 2026 Truist Championship, the names missing from Quail Hollow are almost as shocking as the names actually playing. This is a signature event, $20 million on the line, $3.6 million going to the winner, massive FedEx Cup points, huge world ranking implications, and on top of that, this is basically the final dress rehearsal before the PGA Championship at Aronimink next week. Normally, every elite player wants reps before a major, especially at a place like Quail Hollow, where the pressure already feels major-like. But this year, a lot of top names are making very calculated decisions to stay home. The biggest absence, obviously, is world number one Scottie Scheffler. And honestly, this one isn't surprising if you followed Scottie closely over the last couple of seasons. Scheffler has become incredibly disciplined with his schedule. He's finished second in his last 3 starts. He already looks completely locked in, and he clearly believes rest before majors matters more than grinding through another signature event. He's actually never played this tournament before, which is kind of wild given how important Quail Hollow has become on the schedule. What's scary for the rest of the tour is that Scottie already knows how to win under pressure at this golf course. He played Quail Hollow during the President's Cup and then won the PGA Championship there in 2025. So skipping this week honestly feels less like avoiding competition and more like a calculated move to peak again at Aronimink while defending his title. And let's be real, when Scottie skips an event, the entire betting board and competitive balance shifts instantly. Then there's Brooks Koepka, and this situation still feels strange every single week we talk about it. Brooks still hasn't made his signature event debut since returning through the PGA Tour's returning member program after leaving LIV Golf. He was first alternate for both the RBC Heritage and the Cadillac Championship, but never got into the field. Since he's ineligible for sponsor exemptions under the terms tied to his return, he basically has to qualify the hard way. So instead of competing in a $20 million signature event this week, Brooks is down at the Myrtle Beach Classic, an opposite field event with a $4 million purse. That's genuinely hard to believe when you think about who Brooks Koepka is, a former world number one, a multiple major champion, one of the biggest names in golf over the last decade. Then you've got Collin Morikawa, and this one feels more concerning than people are acknowledging. Morikawa withdrew late from the Truist, and it's pretty clear his back still isn't fully right after the injury he suffered at the Players' Championship. He came back with solid finishes, tied 7th at the Masters, tied 4th at the RBC Heritage, which made people think he was fully healthy again. But then last week at Doral, he finished tied 62nd and looked completely off rhythm. Skipping Quail Hollow now feels less precautionary and more necessary. And if Morikawa isn't physically right heading into a major, that changes the entire equation, because when healthy, he's still one of the purest iron players in the world. Russell Henley missing this event is another quietly important storyline. He's world number 8 right now, which tells you how consistently good he's been. But his tied 49th at Doral clearly showed there are parts of his game he still doesn't fully trust heading into Aronimink. Then there's Shane Lowry. This absence makes total sense physically and mentally. Lowry has already played 12 events this season, way more than Rory McIlroy and Scottie Scheffler. At some point, the body and mind need recovery before a major. And people forget how dangerous Lowry can be at the PGA Championship specifically. 4 top 12 finishes in his last 7 PGA Championship starts is serious consistency. Wyndham Clark's absence feels completely different, because this one is genuinely surprising. Clark won here in 2023 before his US Open breakthrough, and yet he didn't receive a sponsor exemption for this event. His fall to 70th in the world rankings has been rough to watch. And since he hasn't played since the RBC Heritage, there's growing speculation he may be dealing with some kind of injury behind the scenes. Then there's Marco Penge, and honestly, this feels like one of the harshest omissions in the entire field. The guy is 39th in the world, one of the biggest hitters in the game. He already played 3 signature events this season, and Quail Hollow should fit him perfectly. He even finished tied 28th at last year's PGA Championship there, his best major result ever. Seeing him head to Myrtle Beach instead definitely feels like a missed opportunity. Same thing with Nicolai Højgaard. The world number 37 has been playing seriously good golf this season. Second at the Valero Texas Open, tied 3rd at the WM Phoenix Open, tied 22nd last week at Doral. He's clearly trending upward and honestly feels unlucky not to be in this field. Aaron Rai missing out also stands out. He's 42nd in the world and has somehow only played 1 signature event all season. He joins Koepka, Peng, and Højgaard as headline names at Myrtle Beach this week. And when you look even deeper into the missing list, Tom Kim, sitting at 145th in the world, is honestly unbelievable considering where people thought his career was headed not that long ago. When you step back and look at all these absences together, you realize this isn't random at all. The PGA Tour calendar is becoming more strategic than ever. Players are choosing health, recovery, major preparation, and schedule control over simply showing up every week, even for $20 million events. And at the same time, the signature event system is clearly creating frustration for certain players who feel good enough to compete but can't get consistent access. Rory McIlroy and the golden opportunity. And all of that creates the perfect setup for the second story. Because with so many dangerous names missing Quail Hollow this week, one superstar may have just been handed the clearest path we've seen in a long time toward another massive PGA Tour payday, and potentially another historic moment in his career. That player is Rory McIlroy. Whether people want to admit it or not, this entire week suddenly feels built around him. The moment Scottie Scheffler officially pulled out of the Truist Championship, everything changed. Rory's chances of winning jumped dramatically. A potential $3.6 million payday is now sitting right in front of him, at a golf course that honestly feels like his personal playground. When fans call Quail Hollow Rory McIlroy Country Club, they're not exaggerating. 4 victories there already: 2010, 2015, 2021, 2024. Different versions of Rory, different stages of his career, different swings, different pressures. Same result over and over again. That place fits his eye perfectly. The driver becomes a weapon there. The long par 4s suit him. The atmosphere suits him. And when Rory walks onto that property, you can physically feel his confidence level rise. Now take Scottie Scheffler, the one guy who's been consistently standing in everybody's way lately, completely out of the field. That changes the emotional feel of the tournament instantly. What makes this even more interesting is the timing. This will be Rory's first tournament since winning the Masters last month. And not just winning it, making history with it. By capturing another green jacket, Rory joined an incredibly exclusive group alongside Jack Nicklaus, Nick Faldo, and Tiger Woods as one of the only players ever to win back-to-back Masters titles. Just think about that company for a second. Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Nick Faldo, and now Rory McIlroy. For years, the conversation around Rory was always about pressure, unfinished business, missed opportunities, and whether he'd ever fully maximize his talent in the biggest moments. But now something mentally has clearly shifted. You can hear it in the way he talks. You can see it in the way he schedules. You can feel it in the way he approaches the biggest tournaments. Remember, Rory actually skipped the Cadillac Championship recently, even after Donald Trump publicly said he was looking forward to watching him compete there. Instead of chasing another appearance or another paycheck, Rory chose rest and preparation. That tells you exactly where his priorities are now. He's not trying to win everything anymore. He's trying to win the things that define legacies. Rory has spoken openly about how completing the career Grand Slam changed his perspective forever, and how he still feels like he has a great deal left to give to the sport. That mindset should honestly concern the rest of the PGA Tour. Usually, when players achieve the thing they've chased their entire lives, there's a natural emotional drop. Motivation changes, hunger changes. But with Rory, it almost feels like the opposite happened. He sounds freer now, more focused, more selective, more dangerous. He's also talked about drawing inspiration from athletes who stayed elite late in their careers. Figures like Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Tom Brady. Athletes who kept finding ways to evolve and dominate even after already accomplishing everything. That mindset matters because Rory is 36 now. This isn't young Rory relying purely on raw talent and aggression. This version is smarter, calmer, more strategic, and honestly, maybe the most complete he's ever been. And now here comes the part that should genuinely worry everybody else on tour. He's entering one of his favorite golf courses with momentum, confidence, rest, major championship focus, and a weakened field compared to what it could have been. That is a terrifying combination. Beyond the money and the trophy, there's another enormous layer to this story. If Rory wins the PGA Championship next week, he reaches 7 major championships. That would move him ahead of Arnold Palmer, Phil Mickelson, and Nick Faldo, 3 absolute legends he's currently tied with at 6. That's historic territory. That's where conversations stop being about the great player of his generation and start becoming about where he ranks among the greatest players who ever lived. And honestly, considering where Rory's career narrative was just a few years ago, the near misses, the Sunday collapses, the psychological storylines, that turnaround is remarkable. It feels like Rory is finally playing without that emotional baggage. And that makes him incredibly dangerous heading into both Quail Hollow and Aronimink. How these two stories connect. The really fascinating thing is how these two storylines tie together. On one side, you've got elite players skipping events, managing injuries, controlling workloads, and fighting qualification systems, just trying to survive the grind of modern professional golf. On the other side, you've got Rory McIlroy entering what feels like a new legacy phase of his career at exactly the moment the PGA Tour is searching for stability, star power, and defining figures. That's why this week feels bigger than just another signature event. It feels like the beginning of something important heading into the rest of this season. The PGA Tour is entering one of its most fascinating periods in years. Even $20 million signature events are no longer guaranteed stops for every superstar. Players are becoming more strategic, more selective, and more deliberate about when and where they compete. And at the exact same time, Rory McIlroy looks like the center of the entire golf world again, not just because he's winning, but because he genuinely looks fulfilled, focused, and locked in to chasing legacy. That's the difference. This doesn't feel like Rory trying to prove people wrong anymore. It feels like Rory understanding exactly who he is as a golfer and realizing there's still time to build something even bigger historically. When Rory is confident, healthy, emotionally free, and entering golf courses he loves, the entire sport feels bigger. The atmosphere changes, the pressure changes, the expectations rise instantly. That's why this Truist Championship matters even before the PGA Championship begins. It's not just another week on the schedule, it feels like a checkpoint for the entire season. Are we about to see Scottie Scheffler defend his major title after perfectly managing his preparation? Can Rory keep this incredible run alive and move closer to golfing immortality? Will players like Koepka, Lowry, Morikawa, Clark, Højgaard, Rye, and Henley respond under major pressure next week? Those questions are all building right now, and that uncertainty is exactly what makes the PGA Tour so addictive when the season really heats up. Let me know in the comments, do you think Rory McIlroy wins again at Quail Hollow? Or does Scottie Scheffler skipping this week actually give him the bigger advantage heading into the PGA Championship? And if you enjoyed this kind of honest golf conversation, make sure you like the video, subscribe to Golf Al Maximo, and help us keep growing. This channel is just getting started, and if you love real talk from fans who follow this sport every single week, you are absolutely in the right place.